In the news tonight, Kiwi doctor praises local health officials. Unvaccinated market vendors denied entry. And ADB economist welcomes budget initiatives.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Bulawanaga, Fiji. A New Zealand doctor working in Fiji has described how he's humbled by seeing the sacrifices and dedication of local medical workers fighting against COVID-19. Anesthetist Dr. Tony DeProsi has told New Zealand media of how impressed he is with doctors and nurses here. Dr. DeProsi has been helping out with surgeries and has nothing but praise for his Fijian colleagues working under the strain of a growing pandemic.
It's a terrible situation the country's in. I really feel for them, and they're good people doing the best they can. And if you can help, if you can help the patients, and if you can help your colleagues and your friends, and you can represent your country. I'll never run fast enough, jump high enough to be on that podium, but this is something that I can do.
This has been one huge relief for me with the hospital.
He's also described working with an obstetrician to conduct 3 cesarean sections back-to-back, while the local doctor's pregnant wife fought COVID-19 at home.
When you work with people like that, it's really humbling. I wonder, gosh, would I have been able to do that, when my wife was pregnant or when our kids were little?
With 22,000 active cases, the Kiwi adds that a fear of becoming infected is constant even among vaccinated workers.
It is a difficult day for people. You're working in PPE, it's hot. There's always anxiety for everybody, including the medical assistance team that's here, about catching COVID ourselves despite vaccination and despite good PPE. And then you realise that the staff you're working with, this is there every day.
Dr. DeProsi is part of an Australian-New Zealand medical assistance team working in Fiji. Over 1,500 vendors who've not vaccinated have been denied entry into relevant municipal markets. Local Government Minister Premila Kumar says vendors have been advised that after August 1st, they cannot sell at the markets without receiving at least the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Kumar says under the law, these vendors are also not permitted to operate from elsewhere apart from the market.
They still have time till 1st November to get the vaccination done. Although they cannot enter the market now, but they still have time in case they change their mind. But that does not mean that they can start setting up roadside stalls and they can start selling outside. That will be stopped by the municipal council workers. And under the law, that is not allowed because we have markets and market is the place for business.
And Apanisa Wangairandovu joins us live now. Apanisa, how many vendors have been vaccinated as of yet?
Edwin, about 67% of market vendors throughout the 18 municipal markets around the country have been vaccinated with at least their first dose. Minister Premila Kumar says market vendors in Singatoka, Lami, as well as Valilevu, Makoi and Korovo have also been vaccinated with their first dose. The minister says, however, these market vendors need to be fully vaccinated by November 1st, and if these vendors disregard getting their second dose, they will also be removed from their stalls inside the market, and these stalls will be given out to vendors or to the many Fijians who are in line waiting to get a space inside one of these markets, given that they are also fully vaccinated by November 1st. She highlighted that Municipal Council will also continue to enforce the no jab to ensure that their market becomes a safe place for operations. Edwin.
Naka Panisa, the head of economics and programming at the Asian Development Bank has welcomed the Fijian government's efforts to assist the vulnerable and businesses. Eric Ailbers says it's vital to support the small-medium enterprises to ensure they survive in these difficult times and are in a state to contribute to the economy. Kritika Kumar reports.
The ADB economist believes the $200 million working capital provided in the form of loans will help businesses to sustain themselves.
There is also an important factor in determining that companies have sufficient working capital or cash available for those expenditures that they do have to make at this time. And this is where the Reserve Bank of Fiji's $200 million working capital facility will come in particularly helpful.
He adds some other incentives announced in the 2021-2022 national budget will ease the burden of the SMEs.
In order to enable these businesses to survive, we can do two things. We can reduce the costs that they face today during the pandemic. And there, for example, you see the government's reductions in fees as well as the utility subsidies.
Fiji Chamber of Commerce President Dr. Nur Banu Ali says this budget is what Fiji needed to avoid what could be our worst economic crisis.
It has assisted the people who need it most, like this $200 million facility that's there, for instance. Again, come back to that. Once it goes out, then it translates into more revenue.
Ali says the budget has assisted people who need it the most, and the $200 million facilities, once rolled out, will generate more revenue. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
The Ministry of Transport is finalizing relevant Land Transport Authority regulations before initiatives announced in the new budget come into effect. This includes base fees for taxis, minibuses, buses and carrier operators, among others. Koroi Tandulala reports the Fiji Taxi Association is calling on members to wait for the formal announcement.
The FTA president has advised drivers to continue operating from their base for the time being.
In Nandi Town, the police has stopped them, zone taxis, from parking in the base from yesterday. Half day, the police came in Namaka and they even stopped in Namaka.
They have to operate from their own bases. They cannot go around and stand in any other bases. That's not allowed.
In a statement, the Ministry of Transport says the date of commencement of these assistance will be announced by the Minister once all the processes are finalized. For now, the Ministry requests all transport stakeholders to adhere to the current laws in place.
When the government have given the green light, the regulation to be made, then they can operate from anywhere. But at the moment, no.
The government assistance also includes police clearance fee waiver, traffic infringement notices and waiver of arrears. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
And to our latest COVID-19 update, Fiji had 1,220 new COVID-19 infections for the period ending 8 a.m. yesterday. 464 cases are from the West and 756 from the Central Division. The Health Ministry also recorded 7 new COVID-19 deaths between July 31st and August 2nd. 6 deaths were in the Central Division and 1 in the West. Fiji has recorded 32,663 cases since April of this year. There are now 22,689 active cases in isolation, with 9,644 recoveries in total. The COVID-19 death toll stands at 261. The vaccination campaign also continues. As of yesterday, 494,855 people, or 84.4% of the population, has received the first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. 158,271 people, or 27%, have received the second dose. The 5 most vaccinated areas are Mba, Rewa and Nanronga, which are now 100% first jabbed. Next are Nandi and Naitasiri. Rewa also tops the list as the province with the most second doses administered. And Atil Kumar from 9 Miles Nakasi is fully vaccinated. Have you received your doses yet? Up ahead, no cure yet for COVID-19. And consumers query food price hike. Welcome back. The World Health Organization still does not have a cure for COVID-19. However, there are effective treatments and care plans available for positive patients. Christiana Uluwai reports.
People often wonder why there isn't a cure for COVID. The vaccines were...
The WHO says they have different interventions to treat COVID-19.
But we don't actually have that. But we have treatments right now that help you kind of control this abnormal immune response if you develop it.
Damage to the lungs, brain and kidneys occur in some patients when the immune system is fighting too hard to defeat the virus.
We have care plans, so even though we may not have the pill, the cure, we have care, and we can care for you when you have COVID-19 with different interventions depending on what how the disease is in your body.
Doctors here in Fiji have been advocating for unity to reduce the infection and the unjust death of Fijians.
So even though, things may look pretty dire, I think if we all work together, we can try and make, reverse the trend or flatten the curves.
Fiji has been battling the COVID-19 virus for 109 days now and is not out of the woods yet, as the virus is not showing any signs of slowing down. Christiana Uluwai, FBC News.
Tourism Fiji Chief Executive Brent Hill says the vaccination numbers give great cause for optimism for borders to open soon. This has been backed by two prominent stakeholders, Rosie Holidays and South Sea Cruises, which remain hopeful that borders will start opening gradually by the end of the year. Felipe Naikaso has more.
With the tourism industry hitting its all-time low, stakeholders are not sitting on their laurels but assisting the Ministry of Health in transporting vaccines to the islands.
It's a multi-week approach, so because of the logistics and the distance between islands, weather and whatnot, there's a lot of different villages and communities to access up there, so we need to get all of Fiji vaccinated, and if we can do our part by helping in the Asawas, then obviously that's a good thing.
With more than 80% of the targeted population already getting their first jabs and 25.9% are fully vaccinated, these numbers will get Fiji back to the world.
We're also looking at the possibility that if we have some success with vaccination, that there may be some opportunities to open some of our markets a bit earlier, maybe around December.
Tourism Fiji Chief Executive Brent Hill says Fiji still has some of the best products in the world. He says with the world grappling from COVID-19, people will be looking for places to relax, enjoy life and forget about their daily life back home, and Fiji is the place to be. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
The cost of certain food items in local supermarkets has increased due to rising global prices. In its latest economic review, the Reserve Bank of Fiji highlights that the rising prices, along with the high freight costs, have started to filter into domestic prices. Pranita Prakash reports.
The Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission has received queries from Fijians on food price hikes.
Over the last 12 months or so, it's increased anywhere between 33% to 40% on a constant basis. So really the prices that you see, or the inflationary pressure on prices that you see locally, are not driven by artificial means. It's driven by an increase in the price at which we buy things internationally.
The commodity prices for items such as soybean oil, rice and other items have increased. The consumer protection bodies are ensuring that traders are not taking advantage of the situation.
Policy ensures that items which are price controlled, we go and set prices, and we send our people out on the ground on a daily basis to monitor.
Businesses need to be extremely transparent and ethical by ensuring that they do not use such excuses to increase prices of products which has not attracted extreme market pricing factors.
In the last 3 months, the two organizations have carried out separate inspections on over 8,000 businesses. At least 10 traders have been charged for selling price-controlled items at excessive prices. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Commissioner of Police Brigadier General Sitiveni Gilio will resume official duties from tomorrow, and the Acting Commissioner Rusiate Tundravu will revert to his post of Deputy Commissioner. Tundravu has acknowledged the government for having faith in his ability to lead the organization while the Commissioner was on study leave. He says the opportunity, while challenging and demanding, has been one of the greatest achievements of his policing career. He adds that it has been an honor to lead a strong workforce of over 4,000 who've dedicated their lives to serving the people of Fiji. Welcome back. The Fiji National Provident Fund has appointed Viliame Vondonaivalu as its new chief executive. FNPF Chair Dakshesh Patel says Vondanaivalu has shown innovative and decisive direction, which is reflected in the fund's overall investment achievements. The new FNPF Chief Executive enabled the fund to attain the highest levels of growth in the investment portfolio, averaging 11.5% and totaling $2.2 billion, with a total investment income of $1.97 billion. Vondanaivalu has been acting CEO since February 2021, following the resignation of former Chief Executive Chauchi Koroi. Investment Fiji is hoping to secure new markets with the virtual Fiji-USA Trade Expo series this month. Acting Chief Executive Kamal Chetty says this online trading exhibition allows exporters to connect with buyers and distributors in the US market. He adds the response from local exporters has been overwhelming. Fiji shares a healthy trade and investment relationship with the US.
USA is Fiji's largest export market, contributing to about 26.6% towards Fiji's merchandise export revenue. USA largely demands Fiji's mineral water, which constitutes about 73% of the value of all export commodities. Kava, sugar, tuna, turmeric, taro, and mahogany are also among Fiji's top export commodities to the USA.
And here are the local exchange rates as set this morning. The Fiji dollar took a different turn today as it lost ground against our two major trading partners, the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, while it gained against the other international currencies we cover. The commodities market was also mixed. Crude oil dropped to close at $70 a barrel. Gold dropped $1 to $1,812 per ounce, and silver closed up at $25.64 per ounce. And time now for Sharon to give us the latest on the markets.
Good evening. Positive comments by central bank officials in Australia and New Zealand had led the Aussie and Kiwi dollar to big gains among major currencies. Yesterday, the Reserve Bank of Australia left its interest rate unchanged at 0.1%. It reiterated that interest rates will not be raised until inflation was substantially between its 2 to 3% target band. RBA Governor Philip Lowe said the economic outlook for the coming months was uncertain. However, the RBA expects a 2.5% GDP growth in 2023 on top of a little over 4% in 2022. Meanwhile, a press release from the Reserve Bank of New Zealand published on their site indicated of tighter lending standards. The market took this as a sign of an imminent rate hike. On their key data releases, New Zealand's unemployment rate fell sharply in the second quarter to 4%. Markets saw the upbeat data as a further sign that monetary policy will be tightened this month. Elsewhere, the US dollar steadied after having lost value against the Japanese yen and Swiss franc. Questions about slowing US economic growth and the COVID-19 Delta variant tested markets' risk appetite. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
In its efforts to promote brushing and oral care as part of its Oral Health Month, Colgate-Palmolive Fiji has donated 50,000 oral care hygiene kits to the Sai Prema Foundation. Spanning between August and September, Oral Health Month is organized every year with an objective to spread oral health and hygiene awareness throughout Fiji. Colgate-Palmolive says this year, with the participation of trusted partners like the Sai Prema Foundation, the initiative aims to reach out to 50,000 households across Fiji. General Manager Colgate-Palmolive Fiji, Hiten Lal, says due to the pandemic and the safety protocols, they found newer ways to reach out to the vulnerable communities at large through donation initiatives.
So unfortunately this year we can't obviously do that because of the pandemic and social distancing. So we are grateful to the likes of Sai Prema Foundation, who are actually going out there and distributing their food packs. Together with that, we are able to give away our toothpaste, toothbrushes and the education materials, so which helps out obviously.
And these packs are going to be very beneficial as part of our efforts to reach out to the rural communities and population. We're actually doing a major initiative, a COVID relief initiative.
Coming up after the break, ex-hotel worker opens burger joint. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's still not known if the Pacific Island delegations will be physically present at the 26th Conference of Parties later this year. Fiji's permanent representative to the United Nations, Dr. Satendra Prasad, says if smaller states can't be present at all or in smaller numbers, it will be a disadvantage for small island developing states. Lina Rees reports.
Being physically present at climate change negotiations such as COP26 helps Pacific leaders network and solidify their positions.
Their leaders will be talking directly to those whom they think are standing in the way and having those conversations together as groups or as individuals. And all of those have a very positive usually a positive outcome or help progress the negotiations more than if they were virtual.
UN Resident Coordinator to the Pacific, Sanaka Samarasina, says it is important to connect the dots.
So very important to have these conversations and make sure that we complement what is taking place in country with the engagement of the country through the global UN system. And Ambassador Prasad had pointed out to the lead up to the COP. This is clearly an area that we need to, I think, expand.
The United Kingdom has assured that they want a full open COP where leaders can attend the event. Lina Rees, FBC News.
Losing his hotel job due to the downturn in the tourism industry is not the end of the road for Jerry Ndela. He bounced back quickly and opened his burger joint to provide for his family. Sainia Nimboila reports.
The Tasty Burgers joint, which Ndela established some months back, is now a go-to place for many around Suva.
This business has helped me a lot during this pandemic since I'm unemployed right now and I have to put food on the table. I have 2 little boys back at home in Tavua, staying with my grandmother, and I'm here in Suva, hustling.
Receiving orders online daily has helped Ndela earn a living for his family.
This business, on a good week, I can get up to 500 or more. So I'm maintaining this business to stay alive and to live on a daily basis.
He's urging youth to never procrastinate, especially during this difficult time, as hard work pays off.
It's something that you're good at, whatever talents that you have, try to think of ways how to make money out of it. Keep on believing in yourself and don't lose focus on your dream.
The orders for the burgers are placed on Ndela's Facebook page, who does deliveries, and even home pickups are offered. Sainia Nimboila, FBC News.
Leading sports, after suffering a career-ending ACL injury in 2019, Olympian Kalyone Nasoko thought his rugby career was over. However, instead of falling prey to this, the Yasawa native pushed on, undergoing surgery in Australia and forced his way back to the national training squad in 2020.
My friends and other people thought I was never going to play rugby again because of the seriousness of my injury, but that only motivated me to make a comeback.
Masi, Joseph Masi with a fractured hand.
The journey of Fijiana Sevens captain Rusila Nangasau is a testimony of a champion coming out of injury to lead the team to a bronze medal win at the Tokyo Games. The 33-year-old has been in and out of the Sevens circuit, but after the 2016 Olympics, Nangasau knew she was destined to be part of Fiji history. Karalaini Tavi reports.
Winning the bronze and creating history for Fiji. That's the biggest achievement. Right now, I just want to go back home, spend time with my family. From there, and then I'll see.
The Fijiana Sevens bronze medal win was a case of mission accomplished for coach Sayasi Fuli.
For them to come out and show that positive display and that courage and how they execute what we planned is a true testimony of their hard work.
The Fiji Rugby Union says it will not stop any individual from giving money or gifts to the Fijiana or Fiji Sevens players. It's been brought to the FRU's attention that a few entities and social clubs have started circulating and promoting fundraising activities for both teams, particularly through social media. FRU Chief Executive John O'Connor says their only advice is that people follow proper processes in accordance with Fiji's laws. He says if legal requirements are not followed, it may have an impact on a player's contract.
The issue we have is the players are contracted players. Anything that's given to them impacts their tax status. So if everything is done legally, there's a permit and things, then we can have clarity on tax implications and so forth. But we don't have any issues with people.
There is a possibility the 2021 Rugby League World Cup will not go ahead as expected. Even though the Mbati announced an extended squad on Monday, there's new revelations tonight, which mean it's highly likely that new dates will be announced for the event. The Fiji Football Association is on a drive to get its registered players fully vaccinated. So far, 85% of the association's players have taken their first dose of the vaccine. Chief Executive Muhammad Yusuf says they are hoping to resume games in October, and by getting players fully vaccinated, they will be able to do so.
Once we get the second dose for all these 80% plus, then we will give the data to the Sports Commission and Save Sport Fiji, and then we'll be applying for permission to play matches without spectators even.
U.S. gymnast Simone Biles made a return to competition, capping a tumultuous Tokyo Olympic Games. She pulled out of the previous two events, but returned to win a bronze at the balance beam. And that's it from sports. I'll have your weather after the break. It was a generally fine day across the country. To the west, more clouds than sun, a slight chance of some showers later. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, a mix of sun and clouds. Conditions remain fairly cool. In the north, cloudy and humid. The places we are checking out tonight are Nosori, Navwa and Savu-Savu. All centres had fairly low humidity. At sea, moderate to fresh southeasterly winds, moderate seas. Turning to the tides, the next low tide is at 9:15 tonight, with high tide at 3:46 tomorrow morning. Sunrise is at 6:32. For tomorrow, partly cloudy with few showers over the southeastern parts of the larger islands and Lau and Lomaiviti group. Elsewhere, mainly fine, cool at night. And for Friday, cool and sunny conditions to continue. And our shot of the day, taken by Ronald of Natambua Lautoka yesterday, the rainbow creating a dome over the trees. And in Fijian Pulse, we ask, do you think the home learning initiative is helping students?
I think it will help them during the school break. I think it's a good initiative because it's keeping them busy at home and they are also being monitored by their parents.
I think the initiative by the Ministry of Education is good.
I think it's good for students, but you have to ask the question, is all students accessing the internet, and also by having to learn using this initiative.
And recapping our main stories, Kiwi doctor praises local health officials, unvaccinated market vendors denied entry, and ADB economist welcomes budget initiatives. For these stories and others, tune in to our sister radio station, Gold FM. To our poll question this week, we are asking, should there be an Olympic 7 celebration once Fiji is clear of COVID-19? Visit our FBC News website to take part, and remember to send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports, and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news this evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Modemanta.